The boy was 5 years old, maybe 6. It was hard to tell with children when you'd been living on the streets as long as I had. Time did strange things to your ability to judge age, weight, the passage of seasons. Everything blurred together into one long stretch of survival. But this boy was small. Dark hair, serious eyes, expensive clothes that looked wrong on a child that young, a button-down shirt and pressed pants, like someone had dressed him for a business meeting instead of a Saturday afternoon in the park. He stood in front of my bench holding a $100 bill in one hand and a 25 in the other. I looked at the money,
Please,
then at
be my
him,
mom for
then
just
back at the
one
money.
day.
Kid, if
Try
someone told
me.
you to give that to
I
me,
just don't
you can keep
understand
it.
why.
I don't take handouts from children. His eyes, dark, impossibly serious for someone so young, didn't waver. It's not a handout, he said. His English was perfect, barely touched by an accent. It's payment. Payment for what? He looked at me like I should understand something obvious. Like the answer was written on my face, and I was too stupid to read it. For being my mom. Just for today. Just one day. His voice cracked on the last word. Not dramatically. Just a small fracture. The kind that happens when you're trying very hard not to cry, and your body betrays you anyway. I stared at this child, this well-dressed, well-spoken, clearly wealthy child, standing in front of a homeless woman on a park bench, offering money to rent a mother for 24 hours. And I thought, what kind of world breaks a 5-year-old badly enough that he needs to buy what every child should have for free? Please, he said. The word came out smaller than the others. Quieter. Like he'd practiced the rest of his speech, but this part, the begging, was improvised.
Raw.
I looked at the money again. $125. More than I'd seen in 6 months. Enough to eat for weeks. Enough to maybe.
No.
I'd lost a lot on these streets.
My home. My job.
My dignity. My belief that the world was fundamentally good. But I had not lost the part of me that knew you don't take money from a broken child for something you can't actually give him. What's your name? I asked. Hyunwoo Jim Park. He said it carefully. Formally. Like he'd been taught to introduce himself to adults with his full name. Hyunwoo. That money. Where'd you get it? From my dad's wallet. He won't notice. He has a lot of money. And your dad, where is he right now? Working. He's always working. The boy's voice was flat, matter of fact. The way children sound when they're reporting something they've accepted as unchangeable truth. And your mom?
She left.
Last year. She lives in California now, with her new husband. She says I can visit during summer, but she's busy and summer is far away. He paused. Today is Mother's Day. Mother's Day. Ide furguten. When you live on the streets, holidays stop meaning anything. They're just days when fewer people look you in the eye and more people pretend you don't exist, so they can enjoy their celebrations guilt-free. Hyunwoo. Please. He held out the money again. Both hands. Offering it like a prayer. Just today. Just be my mom for today. We can go to the park. I can show you my favorite things. We can have ice cream. And then tomorrow you can go back to. He gestured at my bench, my bags, the visible evidence of my homelessness. To your life. And I'll go back to mine. But just for today. His voice broke completely. The tears he'd been holding back spilled over. And this small, serious, formally dressed child stood in front of me crying with a kind of desperate, silent grief that only comes from someone who's learned that loud crying doesn't bring help. I looked at Hyunwoo Jim Park. 5 years old. Son of someone wealthy enough that $125 wasn't worth noticing. Alone on Mother's Day with enough money to buy ice cream but not enough love to avoid standing on a street corner begging a homeless woman to pretend to care about him. And I made a choice that would change both our lives in ways neither of us could have predicted. I took the money. Put this back in your dad's wallet before he notices it's missing, I said. You're not paying me. You got that? I'm not taking money from a 5-year-old to be his mom for a day. Then you won't. I didn't say that. I stood up. My knees ached. They always ached these days, from sleeping on benches and concrete and the cold that seeped into your bones when you had nowhere warm to go. I said, "You're not paying me. But Hyunwoo, if you need a mom for today." I held out my hand. "I'll be your mom. For free. Because that's what moms do." He looked at my hand, at my face, at the tears I hadn't realized were streaming down my cheeks. Then he took my hand. And that's how Janet Medley, homeless, broke, forgotten by a world that had stopped seeing her as human, became a mother again.
For one day.
Except it didn't stay one day. Because 24 hours later, when Hyunwoo's father came looking for his missing son, he found us in the park. And Gunwoo Park, one of the most dangerous men in the city, a man who controlled criminal enterprises with the same precision he controlled everything else in his life, looked at me holding his son's hand. And everything changed. A 5-year-old stole from his Mafia boss father to buy a homeless woman to be his mom for Mother's Day, and she refused the money but said yes anyway. Subscribe right now, because what happens when Gunwoo Park discovers his son spent the day with a stranger, and that stranger is the only person who's made Hyunwoo smile in a year, is going to destroy you. Janet Medley has no idea what she just walked into. And neither does Gunwoo. My name is Janet Medley, and 3 years ago I had a life that looked nothing like this. I was a social worker. 41 years old. Black woman with a master's degree and 15 years of experience working with children in the foster care system. I had an apartment.
A car.
A job I loved. A best friend who checked in every week. A goddaughter I took to movies and museums and all the places her own mother, my best friend, was too busy working double shifts to take her. I had a life. Then I made one mistake. One decision. One moment of trying to protect a child from a system that wasn't protecting her. One act of insubordination against a supervisor who cared more about paperwork than the 14-year-old girl being returned to an abusive home because the file said it was family reunification and the bruises weren't documented well enough to override policy. I intervened. Broke protocol. Kept the girl in emergency placement when I was explicitly ordered to return her to her biological mother. 48 hours later, I was fired for misconduct. My supervisor made sure I couldn't work in social services again, blacklisted me quietly, professionally, in a way that left no paper trail but ensured no agency would hire me. I fought it for 6 months. Used my savings for lawyers who told me I had no case because I'd admitted to breaking protocol, even if my reasons were good. The savings ran out. The apartment went.
The car.
The best friend stopped calling when I couldn't pay for coffee anymore, and our conversations became too heavy, too uncomfortable, too much evidence that what happened to Janet could happen to anyone. I ended up on the streets 18 months ago, and I'd been invisible ever since. Until Hyunwoo Jim Park saw me. Not as a background, not as a problem to avoid. As a person, a woman, someone who might, just for one day, be the thing he needed most. I should have said no. Should have told him to go find his father. Should have called the police and reported an unattended 5-year-old wandering the park with $100 bill. But I didn't. Because I knew what it felt like to be desperate for something no one would give you. I knew what it felt like to beg. To offer everything you had for something that should have been free. And I knew, looking at Hyunwoo's serious little face, at the tears he was trying so hard not to cry, that this child needed someone to say yes.
So I did.
We started at the park. Not the expensive part with the fountain and the vendor carts. The part where families went. Where children played on swings and climbed on jungle gyms and ran through grass that was maintained well enough to be safe, but not well enough to be pristine. Hyunwoo held my hand the entire walk there. Didn't let go. Like if he released me I'd disappear, and this whole day, this temporary mother he'd bought with stolen money, would evaporate. What do you want to do first? I asked him. He looked around. At the playground equipment. At the other children playing. At the mothers sitting on benches nearby, watching their kids with the kind of casual attention that comes from years of practice. I don't know, he said quietly. You don't know? Hyunwoo, you asked me to be your mom for the day. You must have had a plan. He stopped. I wanted to have a mom. On Mother's Day. Like the other kids. I didn't think about what we'd do. My heart cracked a little more. This child had been so focused on acquiring the appearance of having a mother that he hadn't thought about what mothers actually do with their children. Okay, I said. Then we're going to do mom things. First mom thing, swings. Every kid needs to go on the swings. I don't know how. You don't know how to swing? The nannies don't take me to playgrounds. They say it's too dangerous. Too many strangers. He looked at the swing set like it was an alien structure. I watch from the car sometimes, but I've never. I led him to the swings. Lifted him onto the seat. He was lighter than I expected, delicate in a way that suggested he didn't eat enough or didn't eat the right things. Hold on tight, I said. I'm going to push you. When you go forward, kick your legs out. When you come back, pull them in. That's how you keep the momentum going. I pushed. Gently at first. Then harder as Hyunwoo got the rhythm. And I heard it. The sound I'd been waiting for, without realizing I was waiting. Laughter. Real, genuine, unself-conscious laughter from a 5-year-old boy who'd forgotten how to be a child. Higher, he yelled. Push me higher. I pushed him higher. And for the first time in 18 months, maybe longer, I felt like I was doing something that mattered. Something that couldn't be measured in dollars or documented in case files or evaluated by supervisors who cared more about policy than people. I was making a child happy. For free. Because that's what mothers do. We spent 3 hours in that park. Swings. Slides. The jungle gym that Hyunwoo approached with the caution of someone who'd been taught that fun was dangerous. I coaxed him through it. Showed him how to climb. How to hang from the bars. How to be 5 years old instead of whatever small adult he'd been trained to become. Then ice cream. From a vendor cart. Vanilla for him, chocolate for me. We sat on a bench and ate it while Hyunwoo told me about dinosaurs, his favorite topic, apparently. He knew the names of 30 different species. Could describe their diets, their habitats, their extinction theories with the kind of detailed precision that only children can summon for topics they care about. You're very smart, I said. My dad says being smart is important. He says if you're not smart, people take advantage of you. Hyunwoo licked his ice cream carefully. Do people take advantage of you? The question was so direct, so honest, that I didn't have time to construct a comfortable lie. Yes, I said. Sometimes they do. Is that why you live on the street? Because people took advantage of you. Something like that. That's not fair.
No.
It's not. He thought about this for a moment. Then, when I grow up, I'm going to make sure people don't take advantage of other people. I'm going to be fair. That's a good goal, Hyunwoo. Do you think I can do it? I looked at this small, serious boy. This child who'd stolen money to buy a mother. Who'd never been on a swing until today. Who thought being smart was the only protection against a cruel world. I think you can do anything you decide to do, I said. As long as you remember to be kind while you're doing it. Smart is important. But kind is more important. My dad isn't kind. He's smart. And people are scared of him. Are you scared of him? Hyunwoo was quiet for a long time. Then, very quietly, sometimes. Gunwoo Park noticed his son was missing at 4:17 p.m. Not because Hyunwoo was late for anything. Not because he'd checked on the boy. Because Sophia Brennan, his head of household staff, called him at the office and said, very calmly, Sir, Hyunwoo isn't in the house. He left this morning while the nanny was on break. I don't know where he went. Gunwoo's entire world stopped. What do you mean he left? Where's his security detail? He doesn't have one. You said he didn't need protection inside the house, and the regular ground security was sufficient. Find him. Now. Gunwoo ended the call. Made another immediately. Elena Vasquez answered on the first ring. We have a problem, Gunwoo said. Hyunwoo is missing. Elena didn't waste time with questions Gunwoo couldn't answer. I'm tracking his location now. Does he have his phone? He's 5. He doesn't carry a phone. Smartwatch. You gave him one for his birthday. Gunwoo had forgotten. The watch had GPS tracking, standard security measure for anyone in Gunwoo's household, even a child too young to understand why it was necessary. Elena worked in silence. Gunwoo waited, feeling something he rarely felt. Fear. Not strategic concern. Not calculated risk assessment. Actual, primal fear. His son was missing. In a city where Gunwoo had enemies. Where rivals would see Hyunwoo as the perfect leverage. Got him, Elena said. Harbor Park. East section. He's been there for 3 hours. 3 hours? What the hell has he been doing for 3 hours? Unknown. But Gunwoo. There's someone with him. The GPS shows him moving with another person. Adult-sized movements, based on the stride pattern.
Who?
Unknown. But we're 10 minutes out. I'll have eyes on him in. I'm meeting you there. Don't approach until I arrive. Gunwoo left his office immediately. Didn't tell his assistant where he was going. Didn't cancel his remaining meetings. Just left. Because his 5-year-old son was somewhere in the city with a stranger, and Gunwoo Park, who controlled so much, was about to discover exactly how little control he actually had over the thing that mattered most. I saw the man before Hyunwoo did.
Tall.
Korean. Late 30s. Dressed in a suit that cost more than everything I'd owned before I lost everything. Moving through the park with the kind of deliberate purpose that made other people instinctively step aside. Behind him, a woman. Also well-dressed. Moving like security, scanning, assessing, positioning herself to protect him from threats that probably didn't exist in a children's playground on a Saturday afternoon. Hyunwoo, I said quietly. Is that your dad? Hyunwoo looked. His whole body went tense. The happiness that had been building all afternoon drained away, like someone had opened a valve. Yes, he whispered. Is he going to be angry? I don't know. Maybe. Hyunwoo's hand tightened around mine. I took money from his wallet. He'll know. He always knows. Gunwoo Park reached us before I could decide whether to run or stay. Not that running would have accomplished anything. You don't outrun men like him. Men with resources and reach, and people who tracked you through GPS devices hidden in children's watches. He stopped 3 feet away. Looked at me. Then at Hyunwoo. Then back at me. Who are you? His voice was controlled.
Calm.
The kind of calm that preceded violence. Janet Medley. I stopped. What was I? A homeless woman his son had hired for the day? A substitute mother? A stranger who should have known better? I'm someone Hyunwoo asked to spend the day with him. And you just agreed? To spend the day with a strange child. He wasn't strange. He was lonely. It's Mother's Day. He needed. I looked at Hyunwoo, who was staring at the ground. He needed someone to be his mom for today. Just today. His mom. Gunwoo's expression didn't change, but something in his voice shifted. My son paid you to be his mother. He tried to. I refused the money. Then why are you here? Because he was crying. Because he was 5 years old and desperate. Because I know what it feels like when the system fails you and nobody cares. Because, I said simply, some things shouldn't have a price. And being kind to a lonely child is one of them. Gunwoo stared at me. I stared back, refusing to look away, refusing to apologize for the one good thing I'd done in 18 months. Then Hyunwoo spoke, quietly, but clearly. Dad, she taught me how to swing. And we had ice cream. And she listened when I talked about dinosaurs. And she said I could be anything I want as long as I remember to be kind. His voice got smaller. She was nice to me. Gunwoo looked at his son. Really looked like he was seeing something he'd missed before. She was nice to you, he repeated. Yes. Hyunwoo's hand was still gripping mine. Can she come home with us? Please? Just for dinner. Just today. Hyunwoo. Please. The same desperate please I'd heard that morning, but directed at his father now. I don't want her to go back to the bench. Not yet. Please. Gun-woo's jaw tightened. He looked at me again. At my dirty clothes. My worn shoes. The visible evidence of homelessness that made it obvious why Hyun-woo was begging for me to stay. You're homeless, Gun-woo said. Not a question. Yes. How long? 18 months. Why? That's a long story. I have time. I almost laughed.
No.
You don't. You're a busy man. Your son told me. You're always working. You don't have time for long stories from homeless women. Something flickered across Gun-woo's face. Not quite guilt. Maybe recognition. He turned to the woman who'd followed him into the park.
Anna, call the house.
Tell Sophia to prepare a guest room. Sir. And run a background check on Janet Medley. Full history. I want to know everything by the time we get home.
Elena nodded.
Started making calls. Gun-woo looked at me. You're coming to dinner. And you're staying the night. And tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have that long conversation about how you ended up on the streets and why my son thinks hiring you as a temporary mother is an appropriate use of stolen money. I don't need charity. It's not charity. He paused. Looked at Hyun-woo. It's gratitude. My son is smiling. I haven't seen him smile like that in a year. Whatever you did today, whatever you gave him that I haven't been able to, it's worth more than a meal and a bed.
So you'll stay.
It wasn't a request. I looked at Hyun-woo, at his hopeful face, at the desperation that said, please don't leave me yet. Okay, I said. I'll stay. Gun-woo Park just found his son with a homeless woman, and instead of calling the police, he invited her home. A mafia boss is about to run a full background check on Janet Medley and discover her entire history, including why she's homeless and who destroyed her life. Subscribe because when Gun-woo finds out that Janet's homelessness connects directly to his organization, everything he thinks he knows about loyalty and trust is about to explode.
And Janet?
She has no idea yet. Gun-woo's house wasn't a house. It was a compound. Gated. Guarded. Sprawling across enough property that you couldn't see the nearest neighbor. The kind of place that looked like wealth, but functioned like a fortress. Hyun-woo held my hand in the car, a black SUV with tinted windows and leather seats that probably cost more than my former annual salary. He chattered the whole drive, telling me about his room, his toys, the things he wanted to show me. Gun-woo sat in the front passenger seat, silent, making phone calls in Korean that I didn't understand but recognized the tone of orders, instructions, the kind of calls powerful people make when they're rearranging their world to accommodate unexpected variables. I was the variable. We arrived at the compound. Elena, the security woman, escorted me to a guest room on the second floor.
Large.
Tastefully decorated. With a private bathroom that had more amenities than my entire former apartment. Dinner is at 7 p.m., Elena said. Sophia will bring you clothes. Yours are, she stopped herself.
Dirty.
You can say it.
I'm homeless.
My clothes are dirty. I was going to say it was unsuitable for dinner. Mr. Park expects formal dining. Of course he does. Elena left. I sat on the bed, impossibly soft, the kind that made you sink into it like a cloud, and tried to process what had just happened. 12 hours ago, I was on a park bench. Now I was in a mafia boss's guest room, preparing for a formal dinner because his 5-year-old son had decided I was worth keeping for 24 hours. This was insane. There was a knock. Sophia entered, older Korean woman, elegant, carrying clothes. These should fit, Sophia said. She set them on the bed. Simple but expensive. A dress that looked appropriate for dinner without being ostentatious. Thank you. Sophia studied with me. You made Hyun-woo happy today. I tried. Why? The question caught me off guard.
Why?
Because he was sad. Because he needed someone. You could have called the authorities. Reported an unaccompanied child. Instead, you spent the day with him. Calling authorities doesn't always help. Sometimes it makes things worse. I looked at Sophia. I used to work in child services. I know how systems work, or don't work. Hyunwoo didn't need a caseworker. He needed a mother. For one day. So I gave him that. Sophia's expression softened. Gunwoo is not a bad father. He's just
Busy. I know.
Hyunwoo told me. He's protecting his son. This world, Gunwoo's world, it's dangerous. He works constantly to keep Hyunwoo safe from that danger. By never being present, that's not protection. That's absence. Sophia was quiet. Then, you should shower. Dinner is in 90 minutes. She left. I stood alone in the guest room, looking at the clothes she'd brought, and thought about Gunwoo Park. A man who controlled so much he'd forgotten how to just be with his son. A man whose child was so lonely he'd tried to buy a stranger's affection. A man who was about to discover everything about my past, including details I'd never wanted anyone to know. Dinner was formal. Table set with more silverware than I knew how to use. Hyunwoo sat beside me, explaining which fork was for salad and which was for the main course with a kind of serious instruction that suggested he'd been taught proper table manners before he'd been taught how to swing. Gunwoo sat at the head of the table. Watching. Always watching. The food was excellent. Prepared by a chef who clearly understood that presentation mattered as much as taste. I ate carefully, trying not to reveal how long it had been since I'd had a real meal. So, Gunwoo said midway through the main course. Janet Medley. Former social worker. Master's degree from University of Michigan. 15 years of experience in child protective services. Fired 18 months ago for misconduct. Specifically, he pulled out a tablet. Read from it like he was reading a case file. For refusing to return a minor to parental custody despite explicit supervisor orders. I set down my fork. You ran the background check. I did. Very thorough background check. Including the parts you probably hoped I wouldn't find. He looked at me directly. The case involved a 14-year-old girl named Amber Rodriguez. You believed she was being abused. Your supervisor disagreed. You broke protocol. Kept the girl in emergency placement. 48 hours later, you were fired. That's the official story. Is it the true story? The official story is usually a sanitized version of the truth designed to protect the people who made the wrong decision. I picked up my water glass. The true story is that Amber Rodriguez told me her stepfather was hurting her. Showed me bruises. Described abuse in enough detail that any reasonable person would have believed her. But the file said family reunification, and my supervisor said the bruises weren't documented properly, and I was overreacting. So, you kept her anyway. So I kept her anyway. For 48 hours. Until the supervisor escalated to the director, and I was fired for insubordination. I took a breath. 3 weeks after I was fired, Amber was returned to her mother's custody. For weeks after that, she was in the hospital with a broken arm, 3 cracked ribs, and internal bleeding. Her stepfather was arrested. Too late, but arrested. Gunwoo absorbed this. You sacrificed your career to protect a child. I broke the rules to do what was right. The system punished me for it. That's how systems work. And the homelessness? How does losing her job lead to 18 months on the streets? My supervisor made sure I couldn't work in social services again. Blacklisted me. Quietly. No paper trail, just quiet phone calls that ensured no agency would hire me. I fought it. Spent my savings on lawyers who told me I had no case. The savings ran out. The apartment went. The car. Then, I gestured at myself. Then this. Hyunwoo was listening to every word. His face serious.
Processing.
That's not fair, he said quietly. Same thing he'd said in the park. No, I agreed. It's not. Gunwoo was quiet for a long moment. Then, there's more in your file. A notation about testimony. You were scheduled to testify in a case. Abuse allegations connected to a custody dispute. The case was dismissed after you were fired. Discredited witness. My blood went cold. What case?
Coleman Coleman.
High-profile divorce. Richard Coleman, businessman. His wife alleged abuse. You were the social worker assigned to interview the children. You documented evidence of abuse. But after you were fired for misconduct in a separate case, Gunwoo looked at me. Your testimony was deemed unreliable. The abuse allegations were dismissed. Mrs. Coleman lost custody. I stared at Gunwoo, at this man sitting at the head of his expensive table, calmly describing the case that had destroyed my life. Richard Coleman, I said slowly. You know him. I know of him. He operates in certain circles, makes connections with certain organizations. Your organization. Gunwoo didn't deny it. Richard Coleman has business relationships with people I work with. Not directly with me, but connected. He orchestrated my firing.
To discredit me.
To make sure I couldn't testify about what his children told me. The pieces were clicking into place. 18 months of not understanding why my supervisor had turned so completely. Why the blacklisting had been so thorough. He needed me destroyed. And he made it happen. It appears that way. I stood, chair scraping back. I need to leave. Janet. I can't be here. This house. Your world. It's connected to the man who destroyed my life. I can't. Hyunwoo grabbed my hand. Please don't go.
Please.
I don't want you to leave. I looked at this child. This boy who'd hired me to be his mother. Who'd spent one perfect day thinking someone cared about him. Hyunwoo, I have to.
Please.
His eyes were filling with tears. Just stay tonight.
Please.
Just one more night. Gunwoo stood. Janet, I understand if you want to leave. But hear me first. Richard Coleman, the man who destroyed you, he's not my ally. Gunwoo paused. He's someone I've been investigating. For months. For reasons that have nothing to do with you, but everything to do with protecting my own organization. I don't care about your organization. You should. Because if Coleman destroyed you to protect himself in a custody case, he'll destroy anyone who threatens him. And right now, Gunwoo looked at his son. He's threatening me. Through Hyunwoo. Janet's homelessness was orchestrated by Richard Coleman, a man connected to Gunwoo's world. Coleman destroyed her life to discredit her testimony about child abuse. And now Coleman is targeting Hyunwoo as leverage against Gunwoo. Subscribe because Janet Medley just discovered she's been caught in a war she didn't know existed. And Gunwoo Park is about to offer her something she never expected, a chance to destroy the man who destroyed her. But the price? Staying in a world that terrifies her and protecting a child who's already stolen her heart. I didn't leave that night. Not because Gunwoo convinced me. Because Hyunwoo begged. And I'd already made the decision. Back in the park, when I'd said yes to being his mother for a day, that I would not be another adult who abandoned this child. So I stayed. Gunwoo and I talked for 3 hours after Hyunwoo went to bed. In his study, he showed me files. Evidence. The investigation his organization had been running on Richard Coleman for 8 months. Coleman wasn't just a businessman with criminal connections. He was trafficking information. Selling details about Gunwoo's operations to rivals. Using his legitimate business as cover for activities that made Gunwoo's organization look almost moral by comparison. He's targeting Hyunwoo? I asked. Not directly.
Not yet.
But Coleman knows that the fastest way to make me vulnerable is through my son. He's been positioning himself for months. Gathering information. Looking for leverage. And you think he'll use Hyunwoo? I know he will. It's what I would do. Gunwoo looked at me. Janet, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be honest. About what? About whether you can stay.
Not just tonight.
Longer. It's not that simple. They'll interview Hyunwoo. They'll ask him about his life. About me. About whether he feels safe. I paused. Gunwoo, I'm a homeless woman living in your house with no formal role. No background check that a caseworker would accept.
No credentials.
To CPS, I'm going to look like an unsafe variable. Then we fix that.
How?
Gunwoo thought for a moment. Then, you're not homeless anymore. You're Hyunwoo's guardian. Legal. Official. We'll file paperwork. Register you as his primary caretaker. Give you authority that CPS has to respect. That's not Gunwoo. I can't just become his legal guardian. That's the only way to protect him from this investigation. If you're officially responsible for him, CPS has to evaluate you in that capacity. Not as a random homeless woman. As his guardian. What about his mother? She's still alive. Still has parental rights. She signed away custody when we divorced. She has visitation rights but no legal authority. I have sole custody, which means I can designate whoever I want as Hyunwoo's guardian. I stared at him. You're asking me to become his legal mother. I'm asking you to protect him, the same way you protected Amber Rodriguez, by doing what's right even when the system says it's wrong. I looked at Hyunwoo, playing in his blanket fort, unaware that the stability we'd built over 3 weeks was about to be tested by the same system that had destroyed my life 18 months ago. Okay, I said. I'll do it. But Gunwoo, if this backfires, if CPS finds a reason to remove Hyunwoo anyway. They won't, because you're going to make sure they see exactly what I see when I look at you with my son. What's that? A mother. The real kind. Not the biological kind or the legal kind. The kind that shows up. That cares. That protects. The CPS case worker arrived the following Wednesday. Her name was Teresa Kim. Late 30s. Professional. Carrying the same tired expression I'd worn for 15 years. The look of someone who'd seen too many broken families and not enough resources to fix them. I met her at the door. Introduced myself as Hyunwoo's legal guardian. Showed her the paperwork Gunwoo's lawyers had filed. Everything official. Everything designed to make me look like exactly what Gunwoo had said. A mother. Teresa interviewed me first. Standard questions. Background, relationship to Hyunwoo, living arrangements, daily routines. I answered honestly. Told her I'd been a social worker. That I'd lost my job trying to protect a child. That I'd been homeless until Gunwoo had offered me a position as Hyunwoo's guardian. Teresa wrote everything down. Her expression never changed. Then she interviewed Hyunwoo. I waited outside his room.
Gunwoo sat beside me. Silent.
Tense in a way I'd never seen him, the kind of tension that came from knowing you had no control over what happened next. After 30 minutes, Teresa emerged. Hyunwoo is fine, she said. Happy. Well-adjusted. He spoke highly of you, Ms. Medley. Said you taught him how to swing, and that you listen when he talks about dinosaurs. Is that good? It's very good. Most children in neglectful environments don't talk about caregivers with that kind of warmth. Teresa closed her notebook. I'm going to recommend closing this investigation. The report appears to have been malicious. There's no evidence of neglect or inappropriate guardianship. I felt Gunwoo relax beside me. Subtle. But there. However, Teresa continued, there is one concern I need to address. What concern? Ms. Medley, your background. The misconduct that led to your termination. I understand the circumstances. I even agree that you made the right choice in that situation. But CPS's policies, formal policies, about who can serve as a legal guardian, and someone with a misconduct termination in their file, she paused. It's complicated. So you're recommending I be removed as Hyunwoo's guardian. I'm recommending that you pursue formal reinstatement of your social work credentials. Clear your record. Make it official that the misconduct wasn't actually misconduct. It was appropriate intervention. With proper documentation, there's no reason you can't continue in this role. That takes months. Years, maybe. Then you have work to do. But Ms. Medley, Teresa looked at me directly. I've been doing this job for 12 years. I know real care when I see it. And what you have with Hyunwoo, that's real. Don't let bureaucracy take that away from either of you. She left. I stood in the hallway, holding the recommendation to pursue reinstatement, and thought about Amber Rodriguez, the girl I'd tried to save, the girl whose case had destroyed my career. Maybe it was time to fight back.
Not just for me.
For Hyunwoo. For every child who'd ever needed someone to break the rules to do what was right. I'll help, Gunwoo said quietly. Help how? Lawyers. Resources. Whatever you need to clear your record. To get your credentials back. To become officially what you already are, Hyunwoo's mother. I looked at him. At this criminal who'd built an empire through control and strategy. Who was offering to help me fight a system he didn't understand for a child who wasn't his by blood, but was his in every way that mattered.
Why?
I asked. Because you saved my son. And I don't forget people who save what matters most to me. The reinstatement process took 4 months. 4 months of lawyers challenging my termination. Of depositions and hearings and evidence that proved my supervisor had been wrong. That Amber Rodriguez had been in danger. That my intervention had been appropriate and necessary. Richard Coleman fought it. Quietly. Through proxies and legal maneuvers designed to keep my record permanently tarnished. But Gunwoo fought harder. Not with violence. With the same methodical precision he used for everything. Lawyers who didn't lose, evidence that couldn't be challenged, and pressure applied in exactly the right places to ensure that people who wanted to help Coleman decided it wasn't worth the cost. In the end, my credentials were reinstated. The misconduct notation was removed. I was officially, legally a social worker again. Free to work. Free to rebuild my career. Free to do everything I'd lost 18 months ago. Except I didn't want to. I wanted to stay with Hyunwoo. Gunwoo and I had the conversation in his study. Evening. After Hyunwoo was asleep. Your credentials are reinstated, Gunwoo said. You can go back to social work.
Get a real job.
Build a real life. You're not homeless anymore.
You're not, he paused.
You're not trapped here. I know. Then why are you staying? I looked at him. At this man who'd given me everything I'd needed to leave, and was now asking why I wasn't taking it. Because Hyunwoo needs me, I said. Not as a social worker. Not as a guardian with credentials. As the woman who showed up that day in the park and said yes when everyone else had said no. He loves you, Gunwoo said quietly. He told me, last week. Said you're the best mom he's ever had. He's only had one other mom. That's not a high bar. It's the highest bar there is. And you cleared it. Gunwoo leaned back. Janet, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be completely honest. About what? About whether you can stay permanently. Not just until we deal with Coleman. Not just until Hyunwoo is older. Permanently. Gunwoo. I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm not asking for anything romantic or complicated. I'm asking if you can be Hyunwoo's mother. Really be his mother. For the long term.
Because he needs that.
And he stopped. I need that too. I stared at him. You need a mother for your son. I need someone I can trust with the most important thing in my life. Someone who won't leave. Who won't give up. Who'll fight for him the way you fought for Amber Rodriguez even when it cost you everything. That's a lot to ask. I know. But Janet, you've already given it. For 5 months. You've been his mother in every way that matters. I'm just asking if you're willing to make it official.
Permanent.
Legal. I thought about Hyunwoo. About the boy who'd stood in front of a park bench holding stolen money and begging for something he shouldn't have had to buy. Who taught me that family isn't biology. It's choice. Yes, I said. I'll stay.
Permanently.
As his mother. Really his mother. Gunwoo's expression shifted. Something close to relief. Thank you. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for him. I know. That's why I trust you. 2 years later, I was standing in Hyunwoo's room, helping him pack for summer camp. He was 7 now.
Taller.
more confident, still serious, but with moments of genuine joy that appeared more frequently. Still obsessed with dinosaurs. Mom, he said. He'd started calling me that 6 months after I'd stayed. Not Janet.
Mom.
Yeah, baby? Do you ever think about that day? When I asked you to be my mom for one day? Sometimes. Why? Because I was stupid. I thought one day would be enough. But it wasn't. One day is never enough when you find someone who actually cares about you. I sat on his bed, pulled him close. You weren't stupid. You were brave. You asked for what you needed. That's not stupid. That's survival. You said yes, even though I couldn't pay you. Some things don't have a price, Hyunwoo. Love is one of them. He was quiet for a moment.
Then, Mom?
I'm glad you stayed. For more than one day. Me too, baby. Me too. Gunwoo appeared in the doorway. Watching. He did that sometimes, just watched us be together like he was still surprised it was real. Everything okay? He asked. Everything's perfect, I said. And it was. Not perfect in the fairy tale way. Perfect in the real way, messy, complicated, built from broken pieces that didn't quite fit, but somehow made something whole anyway. I was Janet Medley, former homeless woman, current mother. And I'd learned something on these streets that most people never understand. Family isn't about blood or money or legal documents. It's about showing up. Every day. For free. Because some things are worth more than any price you could pay. And love, real love, the kind that transforms broken children and broken women into something resembling whole, is always free. The end. Please, just for one day, be my mom. A 5-year-old boy standing in a park with stolen money and a broken heart. A homeless woman who'd lost everything except the ability to care. They gave each other exactly what they needed. Not for one day. Forever.
I'm Janet Medley.
I'm a mother. And I learned that the most valuable thing in the world can't be bought. It can only be given. A homeless woman became a mother to a mafia boss's son and rebuilt her entire life while protecting him from the man who destroyed her. Janet Medley went from sleeping on park benches to becoming Hyunwoo's legal guardian to getting her credentials reinstated and choosing to stay anyway. This is what real family looks like. Messy, complicated, earned through showing up every single day. Subscribe because next week's story features a woman who discovers her fiancé's business trips are actually visits to a second family he's been hiding, and she decides to unite both families in the most devastating group intervention ever. It's going to be legendary. See you there. Real talk. Did Gunwoo deserve to have Janet stay and raise Hyunwoo after his world was connected to the man who destroyed her life? Or should she have left once her credentials were reinstated? A. He deserved it. He fought to clear her record, protected her, and gave her the resources to rebuild everything she'd lost. B. He didn't deserve it. His organization was connected to Coleman, which makes him complicit even if indirectly, and Janet should have walked away. C. Both. He didn't deserve it, but Hyunwoo did, and staying was the right choice for the child even if Gunwoo hadn't earned it. D. None of this matters because a 5-year-old trying to buy a mother with stolen money, then getting a real one for free, is the most beautiful thing ever written. Drop your answer below. And more importantly, was Hyunwoo right to approach Janet that day? Or should he have asked his father for help first? Also, the moment Janet said some things don't have a price, and being kind to a lonely child is one of them, did that hit harder than any other line in the entire story? Or was it when Teresa said, I know real care when I see it? Sound off in the comments. This story proved that family isn't about biology or money. It's about showing up. Every single day. For free. Because love is the only thing in the world that increases in value the more freely you give it away.